high-resolution meshes for representation, which Real Extend, for instance, has done, or a group is interested in how you want to deal with very closed, very secure environments with very real-life tied identities, and they go ahead and extend the environment in that way. We'll see lots of innovation in this space, and no one group, no piece of community is going to do it all at once. And this way we get the benefits of interoperating and sharing. So when somebody comes up with a really good idea, the entire community benefits. I think that's relatively fundamental. It's a statement of the broader space is so important, we need to have it happen in parallel rather than imagine it being done as one or two all centralized efforts, which has never been success in the internet anyway.
Okay, we have a question from Olanda Seven DaCosta, Roland Ledron, and it is for Zero. Would Linden Lab become a vendor of virtual worlds solutions and eventually spin off Second Life?
Spin off? I think, yeah, no, I don't think so. I think we believe deeply that the community, the grander community, it's amazing we still call it a community when it has, what, 15 million registrants or whatever the number is today. The community is a deep part of who we are and what we're about and who we're here for. I think there's no doubt that Linden Lab's business will expand. Right? We will be taking on other areas and doing other things, and I can't speculate at the moment what being a vendor in virtual world space will be, because we're only charting what that space is right now. But I'm sure Linden Lab will be taking on other business aspects of virtual worlds as time goes on. However, I don't think, this is our heart and soul is the community environment of Second Life. So I believe we will always be running Second Life. I don't think we will ever spin it off. You just have to recognize that Linden Lab is going to grow and is going to be able to do more.
So, Zero, just to follow up on that, one
Sure.
of the short-term effects, it would seem, is that right now selling land is a major, if not the major, revenue source for Linden Lab. And so I'm just wondering if you can. I mean, it seems we'll talk in a minute about exploring some more of these long-term benefits that are going to be great for the metaverse. And all that, but in the short term, I mean, I guess I'm wondering, is the short term fast enough that you're going to see a lot of people putting up their own servers online, and not buying land?
No, I don't.
You don't think see that happening?
I don't see that happening short term. First off, nothing will happen here without a tremendous amount of planning and without involvement and without clear communication. I think while it might be easier for other companies to go ahead and say, well, their practice would just be to do these things on the quiet, you can see that Linden Lab as a transparent entity has been happily talking about the fact that this stuff is going on even in such an early stage. I mean, so please recognize the value of the fact that we're willing to talk about this stuff at this stage, that we can have the dialogue going on starting now about how the virtual worlds will evolve. Even when right now, as you can see, it's not exactly a immediate drop replacement for what you're doing in Second Life at the moment. Right? All you can do is take your avatar as a Ruth somewhere else, and so I don't see that. The other thing is,
go ahead.
And the other thing I think people have to recognize and think about is, it is still the case that the land that Linden Lab offers has that is in Second Life has a huge number of features and variety and value, and it's part of this community. And there are other points in the world of virtual land space that this land may not cover. And so when other people open up land or build land elsewhere, I don't think that necessarily is a direct competitor for what's going on here. In the future there might be. I'm sure there will be competition in the future. But anytime, short or mid-term, recognize that there are other kinds of uses of virtual worlds which we may not be fulfilling, and therefore people fulfilling that doesn't mean we're losing business. It's the market as a whole is growing.
Right. I mean, and one of the things I think that is important to keep in mind is that there are often, as the web evolves, opportunities where you look at it and go, does a player or a collection of players want to hold tightly their share of the current closed world, or they want to be part of a potentially smaller share of a much larger world? And I certainly think that's one of the perspectives to keep in mind, both from the point of view of the participants at the company level, but also from the view of the participants at residences. If, in fact, we're at all successful at this, part of the explicit result ought to be a much larger world, much more variety and many more participants. And when that happens, the overall pie gets quite a bit larger. And in particular, if that's all connected, if that's all leveraged, the phrase you'll often hear is network effect. People talk about this from a business strategy point of view. Then you get huge benefits. So if, for example, it suddenly becomes possible for people to do corporate solution training behind their firewalls, but it's part of very deeply the same large community, so that the same avatars move up and back, then the benefits become that there's more use of the entire world. One of the things that you don't particularly want to get to, in my perspective, is lots of little private walled gardens which never interoperate, because then none of them share the benefits. You don't get the opportunity to say, oh, now that you've learned how to do this training, you can also come and do public space meetings with your colleagues and competitors in Second Life, and you can come and do social events, you can come and engage in a large range of activities. There's a lot of intersections of interest where what we want to achieve is not, oh, here are 10 different ways you can do this, each of which is independent. In fact, here are 10 different ways to do this, which have variations, all of which are synergistic and combined to give you a greater world.
We have a question from, let's see if I can get this name, Sagan Otobide. Sagan Otobide. Do you see the open grid becoming the next internet? Is that a reasonable way of putting this?
If you mean like, if it becomes the next thing people mean when they just say the more generic term, the internet, yes.
That would be my yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be a little bit, I don't know, pompous or pompous sounding, but I think it's absolutely true. I think
we need to give the bloggers a headline, right? Zero
right.
Linden says.
Yes.
A follow-up question from Cytec Blanco: is Google playing along with this?
You mean is Google involved in the AWG or in the Open Grid
or any aspect of this project?
They not to our knowledge, or at least not under. No one has identified themselves as an employee of Google, so no, I don't think so.
Well, that's an interesting way of putting it. I mean, I suppose it's possible that one of those many hardworking folks in the in the AWG or working on open source could be doing it, getting paid for their time by Google. You don't have to comment on that.
I just don't know. I mean,
I'll just
right.
leave that hanging out.
Yeah, one of the mild entertainments of this is the periodic sort of, do you actually know who all the people you're working with are? And the answer is not always. I mean, some of us identify ourselves as, here's my real life connection, here's who I'm working for. Some people who have provided lots of strong ideas and direct input have not. And you know, if the ideas are of high quality and the contributions are worthwhile, they get included. And I would find it unlikely that major corporate players would play that game. On the other hand, I would be very comfortable and not surprised if when you're looking at it, you just kept your mouth shut and watched for a while. And it's all open. There's no reason why somebody from a major corporation who's interested in this can't go read the wiki, see what we're doing, and learn a lot. And in fact, explicitly, that's one of the goals. Everything we've done is public. So if they are interested, come read it. If you want to contribute, come talk to us. We'd be glad to hear from you. It's very much an open process.
Okay.
And just to briefly touch on the comment of, is this the next internet? Oh, I mean, in some sense, absolutely no, in the sense that the internet's the network. Is it our intent and hope that this becomes a big part of how people do things across the web? And as a sort of layer on top of that, absolutely. Do we think that potentially, significant chunks of what people currently do using other technologies get subsumed by this? That's certainly one of the aspirations, where it's appropriate, where collaboration and where doing it as a shared space with a visual presence becomes compelling. Absolutely, that's clearly one of the things we see as desirable.